you want to go in?
No.
It's too much, right?
Yeah.
Too many blonde kids. Okay, come on. Hi.
Meester, hoe komen jullie aan het lucht?
Nowhere Trudy hid the Valium.
Valium?
Yeah, she said she hid it in the stock room because she had to hide it from the other scientists to see it. What's that?
The Mitchell or the diazepam?
Diazepam.
Oh.
I don't think anyone's ever used diazepam for euthanasia in embryology. You know, my artist friends will never talk to me again if I make a scientific paper. So
Why not?
because they think that I become repeatable and boring.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like no longer spontaneous or jazz. I think I'm. But yeah, that's okay though, right? I mean, sometimes you gotta mess with everybody.
That's with the right people.
Yeah. A little kick in the ass. Oh, you guys have
them?
Yeah. You guys have a lot of it.
Lorazepam, oxapam,
Lorazepam? No way.
Groenendaal, bromazepam,
Temazepam.
Temazepam. So what you want?
The old stuff. I mean, I of course want it all.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. I don't even know these. What are these? Are these also the same drug? Is temazepam 10 times more strong than diazepam?
Ooh, I don't know. It's maybe the analytical guys know that.
Should I take the whole box? You're a little worried about it disappearing, right?
Yeah.
Is it good stuff? Have you sampled this?
Yeah.
1 gram equals what?
1,000 guilders. That's 500 euros.
I was trying to figure out how to do my solution. As long as I give them too much, it's okay.
Yeah.
That'll be okay. That's a theory. That's my theory. Look at this. Bromazepam, midazepam, nitrazepam, temazepam, flurazepam, flunitrazepam, lorazepam, oaxacazepam, diazepam, and chlorcleazaperoxide. In the world, educational embryo, extinguished mainly an expendable being. Hey, come on in. Yeah, we'll clear it. I'll get you a piece of paper before we do anything. I'm serious. No,
okay.
no, I like it.
Just to be
I'll get Alia to say it.
Otherwise, if it is trouble, then it's just for the whole group, not only for me. And then
Paul Ruzel and Nagelkircher, you can tell them the reason Bianca.
If Ruzel is
they both.
Then it's okay.
It's totally okay. The reason Bianca is saying this is because Bianca is the person that does avian embryology on campus, one of the majors, with Mitt Richardson and a couple more people, and Pullman.
Yeah.
Pullman doesn't think artists should be in the lab.
Yes.
And they think it's not, she said it's illegal, but it's not illegal. It's bad PR, public relations.
Yeah, for zebrafish, if you are playing with the embryonic things, then is it okay?
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think this is research and pure science and innovation, but it's also, it's a high school laboratory. It's going to be okay. So anyway, we're clear, don't worry. I knew you were a little stressed.
Yeah.
But no, I think that she lied
Oh.
by saying it's illegal. I think she knows it's not illegal.
Oh.
I think that didn't think I could do the laboratory without her. And especially not a laboratory of this magnitude. You know what I mean? Without any scientific help.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, you like that.
Okay, so what I want you to do is find the name and then write your name next to it. So this is Workhorse. It's on one of these three. Like, these are all from May 8th. So they're 3 days old. Ancestor rape. You have to find that there and sign your name. Should be on one of the three. Deformed.
Deformed?
Deformed.
Not yet.
Not yet. Interesting answer. Captive. There's a model organism. You want one? Reflex entity. Do you have one already, right?
What's the name of your egg? Murder me. Murder me.
No.
Inclusief pas wel. What's the name of your egg?
All right. It's Donald Dooku. It's going to be a count with a bad temper. Yes, it's going to be a count with a bad temper.
Ik ben echt heel erg bang dat ik dit ding kapot ga maken. Kun je het zien zo? Oh. Hey, gaat het heel... Hoe ver moet ik door?
This one is not very much there. Okay, so we should show people what we're doing too. So we have to do this again. The general technique, if you're using quail egg, be careful. You'll smush the egg and crunch it in your hand and be like, oh.
Okay, and then I have to roll this, right?
On your leg.
Is it looking at you?
Well, I can't actually see anything. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be seeing. I can see like a line of blood, but that's all. I don't know.
Shiny built, right?
valt hij wel goed vlot.
Vind ik dat te kijken in de foto?
Ja. Maar heb je al iets van de embryo gevonden of niet?
Nee, weet ik niet. Ik zit niet in. Ik weet niet wat het is.
Er zit dan wel iets bits, hè?
Kijk,
die verzanten die doen er ook langer over om te groeien. Als je een verzand van 3 dagen hebt, dan is het nog heel erg jong. Dus dat is echt wel een heel klein stuk.
Ja.
Dat is wel goed. Dit zou je kunnen zijn. Maar die zijn ook te vroeg om iets van onderdelen aan te rijden.
The embryo attached to, so that's a 7-day-old pheasant, right? Okay. Because that's also a time thing.
Yeah. It will take some time.
Vincent,
I'll do it in front.
you go ahead. Oh my God, I'm the messiest. Hey!
No, you're not.
I'm not. Okay, good. I looked over and I'm like, no, I'm not. I think I need another one.
Oog, hè?
Ja, dat is een oog. Ik heb een hele mooie. Ja, kijk, het stemneusje. Oogje en het lichaampje.
2 weken later
Als je dit kijkt. Ja.
Het lijkt echt precies op een garnaal.
Het ziet een beetje een kuikentje.
Zit hier allemaal suiker in?
Okay, so we're going to start off the class before Rob speaks and Jeanette speaks. To see Vincent do a performance because he needs to start before the class even gets going. So,
Ja.
if you guys want to come.
Dat is gewoon.
Jullie ziet de pootjes. Is hij nu nou levend of niet? Ja, hij is denk ik aan het doodgaan nu. Ja.
Het gruwelijk is, als je het ei openmaakt, zie je het ook weer probleem.
I guess we're going to make transgenic embryos if you want to. I was offered a plasmid by Herman Spank, who works in Clusius Lab, and I wasn't sure if it was covered over here, and I wasn't sure if I liked his attitude either. So I actually went to the 9th floor, and I was going to work my way down, and I said, "Has anybody got some artistic plasmids?" And they said, "We have GFP." Well, that's funny. That's what Spank wanted to give me too, GFP plus X-Gal. And actually, the guy Becky, he wanted to give me GFP. He did. We have some GFP. If someone wants to make a GFP quail or pheasant, it's possible today. But I was like, that's boring. I want something that shows change, physical change, not just a marker that glows. And so, of course, they said the next natural thing, which is talk to Carlos. Carlos Fitzsimmons is in a drug development lab, and he works with a plasmid that makes it RFP, which is red fluorescent protein positive, but it also impairs the function of microtubules. A sperm has a cilia on the end of it. Some cells have more, right? These cilia have microtubule proteins in them, and during cell division, often the cilia pull in because the microtubule proteins they're little microtubes. And you cut a cross-section of a sperm, you'll see this. It's actually 7-2. Kind of like a coaxial cable or something. There's 2 tubes in the middle and 7 tubes around. These are all tubulin protein. And they do different things. But also, there's a possibility that these are spirochetes, ancient parasites that grabbed onto the outside of cells and decided, this is delicious, like a leech, right? Cilia do this in the stomachs of ants and things like that. And that when they go to attack the center of the cell and pull apart the chromosomes, that may be an ancient ritual of eating. Well, that's my theory, anyway. Anyway, I told Carlos I'm interested, this is cool, and he showed me some cells. He does tissue culture and he adds the plasmid, and the cells before and after, a cell looks like this, and after it looks like it got hit by lightning, like phew. So this plasmid, when you inject it, you should actually pay attention to where, if you can see on the embryo that you injected, because there may be an effect there on its development. What is the purpose of all this in science? Obviously this is an educational lab, so you're being educated, so we're okay. But in science, microsurgery is what they did, first off is once they started looking at chicken embryos, windowing them like this, is to cut off something and see what happens. You can also, and if you want to, if you make 2 surgical tools and cut something off, you can try and stick it somewhere else. And in the 3-day embryos that I have for you, that's a good time. There's not that much differentiation, and so it's possible that you can do a cut and paste and it will stick. Some developmental biologists use micro pins, sterile platinum pins to sort of pin it to it. But it's up to the cells, sort of like a scar healing, to sort of regrow into each other. So you can move an arm, or if you take 2 embryos, you can swap an arm or swap a head and see if you get a 2-headed pheasant or quail. But that's not why people do it in science. They do it to see what they can see, right? They're trying to understand all the different stages of how we go from one cell to this. Like, this is crazy. And there are some funky stages, right? Like your head split and then all down your spine split. I think I talked about this, and then comes back together, forming 2 lobes in your spinal cord. So they look, they manipulate physically, and then with these teratogens, obviously things like DDT or dioxin in the environment, these are ways to study and prove problems with the environment. I like environmental toxicology, and you often get monsters. It's true, because there's stuff out there that's rough. In industry, etc. And then this transgenic thing, this is done in science to understand pathways of development and metabolism, but it's also done, obviously, to try to cure diseases. So first they'll make an organism that has a plasmid in it that infects the organism with a disease, and then they'll try to cure it. Other reasons to do this, obviously, are to make better beef, right? Like bigger, stronger cows, and to, what was it, Jen? There's military reasons, right? Make better soldiers, make dogs that have better sense of smell, or people that have better sense of smell with dog noses.
George Gessert writes that chapter that if scientists can do it, farmers can do it, and military can do it, then why not artists too?
Okay. So what is the difference between an artist doing this and a scientist doing this? And I've had a lot of different answers from scientists, actually, talking to them recently, that have been kind of interesting. A lot of scientists don't want this lab to be occurring on campus. There are a few that wanted it to stop. For various reasons, it just so happens that it's the scientists that practice avian embryology that don't want to talk to me because they feel liable, but also they think this may be bad PR for them. I'm not sure it is. There's a feeling that science is repeatable and utilitarian and for humanity, and that art is neither of these, none of these. And not only that, that art is just play, and therefore it's frivolous and may have no use value, or it doesn't necessarily even have a meaning, right? Unless you're a conceptual artist, and then it's only meaning. But I could say, if I was working with an embryo, that I was doing it just as a media, just as a, like clay, to just check out the difference in formation. Maybe a collaboration between natural forces and my hand on a tool or a poison or a plasmid, okay? So if you don't give it a reason, like education or research, but instead say, no, really, I'm just playing, and it's not repeatable, then you're sort of in this moral dilemma. At least some people are. Thought I would voice them. I mean, it's really cool to make a transgenic pheasant, but there's a question as to what you are doing. And I think that that question is something that as you do this, maybe that's what this lab is about. This lab isn't about science, it's about having the chance to do all these things like scientists do every day, and to think about what you're doing. I don't know. Okay, so that's sort of it. All I can tell you is I found out when I say, what is it? This is legal. Pretty legal. I went to the Animal Experimentation Committee to like 3 different people, and to recombinant safety, 2 different people. The Animal Experimentation Committee has declared these to not be animals. They're not animals because they're not free living. And they're not sufficiently developed to have a nervous system that can experience pain as we know it, in full-born organisms. It is also safe to make them transgenic because not only are they not free living, but they can't run away because they're not free living, but they also do not reproduce. In other words, no one's ever seen 2 twin embryos having sex in utero. And therefore there's no fear of them spreading. The one thing that I do have to say is that it is illegal to let them hatch. I don't have a license for vivisection. And although some people in this room that are managing do, this experiment has not been cleared for full term. So any embryo that you use for your art or your analysis or whatnot must die.
Het is heftig, zeg maar.
Per year out of your, you know? I kind of like that.
Je ziet door deze, we hebben daar die 5 plasmiden bij elkaar gedaan, dus krijg je die verschillende kleuren.
Ja, het kan ook schimmel zijn.
Weet je wat? Ja, toen had ik zelf...
I don't know if Superman grew colonies on him, but you can see the shape of where he was in the bottom. We got colonies on the back of his head. This one got contaminated with fungus. Take a look at that. Go ahead, take it.
Oh yeah.
You got a hairy ear. The ear is not real.
Oh, okay.
That's totally correspondent.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
These are from recently, yes.
Yeah.
How many days older? Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you. You hold this in one hand and this in the other. And you're basically like doing like a glass blower, so when it heats up, it can start to bend, right? And you can shape. To make a scalpel, you would do this. You pull quickly, right? And then you have a very sharp, pointy thing. Other options are to attempt to make kind of something like a spiral, right? That can be quite useful. If you're interested, your embryo is 3 days old. It's not fully differentiated. If you disturb its development, it won't, supposedly it doesn't hurt it, I don't know. But I know that the cells are still figuring out what's going on to make the body. So it doesn't translate to just a scar. In other words, you will see maybe an eye and maybe a small body and maybe even kind of a little bump here. That's a limb bud. And if you scratch the limb bud, you may not end up with an arm that's scratched. You can also do things like this, like a scissor, right? Where you bring two tools together and slice. I would say that it's a very delicate process that you're probably not going to learn in 10 minutes, but it's worth a try to start, right? But what we're doing is we're injecting raw plasmid directly into the tissue, and they've just found out recently that somehow it finds its way to the nucleus, right? And then when we get time for plasmid, you'll suck up your plasmid out of the Eppendorf, right? And sort of go in and squeeze. Try and make your tool so it'll fit to the bottom, right? But then you'll suck it up and then you would put it into the embryo and squeeze. Try not to squeeze a giant air bubble in there, you know, but the air pocket is here, right? The lung of the embryo. So you make a little hole here. Be very delicate. You don't want to go too far in. And you can kind of twist it around. The reason you make this hole is like a can, right? You're releasing the pressure in the egg. And then you do the leg roll. And this loosens, the embryo is connected all the way around on the inside of the shell of the egg. So this loosens everything up so that it's, even now what you're doing, if you bring them home now, just like this, then even when you turn them, they're always on the top. And so they'll be born like this. Like, I never got really turned. You have to, a quail will turn their egg every day, and it gets sort of moved around. But now I can fairly say, when I hold this egg up this way, that the embryo is here. Okay?
Misschien hartkloppen.
Ja? Dat is ook wel oké. Ja, dan zie je een rood.
Found it beating hard and put the quill embryo to it. Made a small
quill embryo
to the pheasant embryo.
Okay, you might have to scratch them both.
Yeah, scratch the little with this chicken body.
But after a while, the one body will reject the other. Sooner or later, they realize, even after they're born, they walk around for a while, it's really weird, and then they go, I reject you. They're not meat.